I woke up feeling great. The birds are in the trees. They're singing me a melody. La 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 la, fuck the police. My head is on straight. My heart is in peace. My soul is incredibly ready to change history. It's a good day to fight the system. To fight the system. It's a good day. It's a good day. We're never gonna stop. We're gonna make it count. When one of us is tired out, the other one will hold it down. We're gonna spread the love. We're gonna spread it around. We're all over the city now, and we're down in the underground. Come on.
Welcome, folks. We'll get started in just a minute. Feel free to introduce yourself and what lands you're calling. Welcome, everyone. We'll get started soon. Thank you so much for joining. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat and where you're calling from.
To fight the system, to fight the system. It's a good day. It's a good day. To fight the system, to fight the system. It's a
Alrighty, let's go ahead and get started. I do think we'll have more folks trickle in as we continue throughout the night, but we're super glad that y'all are all here to join us. I'm seeing lots of folks from all over Turtle Island joining, and this is so exciting. Closed captioning will be available, and so be sure to turn it on if you need it. And you've probably noticed, but we do have ASL interpretation tonight. You have the ability to pin the ASL interpreters, who are Danielle and Daniel, and they'll be switching off every 15 minutes. Tonight's call will be recorded and will be sent out and made available in an email after this call. So you should see that in the next couple days. And while we're getting started, once again, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. And throughout the evening, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box, which you should be able to access at the bottom of your screen. My name is Eloise Navarro, and I'm the National Fossil Fuels Organizer at 350 PDX, and I'm calling in from Multnomah lands, or so-called Portland, Oregon. And so just another thank you for joining us tonight. We've got lots of folks this evening. And so thank you for joining the End the Era of Fossil Fuels mobilization call. We are so excited to host organizers and energized community members from across Turtle Island to take a moment to ground ourselves in our movement after Biden's unfortunate approval of the Willow project in Alaska. Tonight, we'll learn about where the Willow project is headed, hear stories of other fossil fuel fights happening across the country, and finally plug into an opportunity to act against fossil fuels, both locally and nationally. We're excited to hear from several movement leaders driving climate justice campaigns in their communities. Again, closed captioning will be available, and we have ASL interpretation, and feel free to pin the ASL interpreters throughout the call. Awesome, so we can move to our next slide. Our first section tonight is about the Willow project. Our first speaker tonight is Monica Schur. Monica develops and manages volunteer efforts for the Alaska Wilderness League's campaigns across the continental United States and coordinates efforts between partner organizations. She strives to empower and support individuals and organizations to engage in meaningful actions on behalf of Alaska's public lands. Thanks so much for being here, Monica.
Thank you so much for having me and inviting me, Eloise, and all. I'm really honored to be here with all of you and so many speakers this evening. As Eloise mentioned, I work for an organization called Alaska Wilderness League. We are a national nonprofit organization based in DC. We're celebrating our 30-year anniversary this year, and we have spent those 30 years focused on protecting and preserving critical public lands across the state of Alaska. So we are deeply familiar with the fight against oil and gas development and have been pushing back against efforts to drill places like the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, the Arctic Ocean, and the Western Arctic. We've enjoyed a lot of success, but we've also taken a lot of experiences from times when decisions have not gone our way. Most recently, as was mentioned with Willow, but we are ready to apply our knowledge and our effort and work with all of you to continue the fight. So I know a lot of you were deeply engaged. I just wanted to briefly let you know where Willow stands. As mentioned, it was approved by President Biden in mid-March, just over a month ago. The day following the decision, a number of organizations and groups filed a lawsuit challenging the validity of that decision, and that is currently in the court system. This is the same process we undertook when Willow was approved under the Trump administration, and the court did ultimately throw out that approval, which landed us here. So just wanting everyone to know that that process is ongoing. In the meantime, there are a number of things that we can do to assure that Willow is never going to be accessing the oil under it and adding to our climate crisis. First and foremost, ConocoPhillips, the parent company of ConocoPhillips Alaska, who is going to be attempting to develop the Willow project, has not yet issued its final investment decision. When the Willow approval was released, Conoco included in their press release a statement that they would now look at how they want to move that final investment decision forward. And so what we are going to be looking to do is really turning a lot of the public specter onto Conoco and in an effort to slow, halt, or change their decision here. So it is a decision point. They can't move forward with the large scale development until the parent company makes that choice. And we recognize what public pressure can do in this arena. And so that is one of our immediate actions. Secondly, when the Willow approval came out, the Department of Interior also indicated that they would be instituting a regulations process looking to protect about 13 million acres in the Western Arctic. This would not impact Willow, but it is going to be a public process that launches very soon and is a step in the direction that we need to be making. And so we will be providing information and materials so that people can engage in that process as we continue with the lawsuits and the corporate work to push back on the specific Willow projects. And ultimately, you know, we are really working towards developing just a new thinking and a new approach to public lands, particularly those in the Arctic, as it comes to fossil fuel development. It needs to end on our public lands, and we need to have a well thought out approach onto what the climate crisis is doing, not only for areas of the Arctic, but our public lands in whole. And we recognize that they can be a significant part of the solution. And so as we continue to work on that big picture thinking, I just applaud and thank all of you here tonight for your efforts and your work, both on local projects and this large scale effort to stop the fossil fuel development train. So big thank you. Appreciate everyone being here tonight. And we'll continue our fight to stop Willow.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Monica, for talking to us about what Willow is and how we can continue to address it in projects like Willow moving forward. Our next speaker tonight is Elise with Gen Z for Change. Elise Joshi is a 20-year-old organizer and acting executive director at Gen Z for Change. Through Gen Z for Change and her own TikTok platform of 130,000 people, she mobilizes people across the country to take action in climate, labor, and health. And she'll be speaking about how young organizers are plugging into this national fossil fuel resistance movement. Thanks, Elise.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here and for having me speak. The Stop Willow movement online was truly grassroots, and the 1.1 million letters that we sent to the Biden administration and the 5 million plus petition signatures are a reflection of how young people truly feel about justice, pollution, and the climate crisis. As we know, the Willow Project and more recently the exports of the Alaska LNG project were approved, but I'm honored here today to share my 3 biggest takeaways as a digital organizer during the Stop Willow campaign, so we can take that for our future fossil fuel fights. So first of all, first takeaway is listen. You do not know better than the people that are actually experiencing the issues on the ground. Indigenous people in Alaska and around the world are not a monolith, and that reality was showcased during the Stop Willow movement. And it is crucial to draw upon the knowledge of Native leaders like Sela that live closest to Willow. For example, drawing upon the letter that Nuiqsut leaders released during the Stop Willow campaign against the project. Takeaway 2 is that centering hope is crucial as a creator on social media, where the algorithm incentivizes nihilism like crazy. Doom is everywhere, more so than climate denial. Notice that GOP leaders in support of the Willow Project didn't deny climate change. And even more than that, they were trying to claim that the project would reduce emissions. So the takeaway is that the world knows that climate is an issue, and now it is about making sure that people know that these solutions are beautiful and that we have strength in working together as a collective for the future that we deserve. Takeaway 3, youth just gave the Biden administration a black eye, and it's about time that the Biden administration starts paying attention. So the data speaks for itself. A recent poll was released by Data for Progress that stated from October, so just 6 months ago, 18 to 29-year-olds support for the Biden administration's climate and environmental policy dropped 13%, with Stop Willow being the major policy that has been a piece of news that the climate has gotten from the administration in that time period. So the Biden administration needs young people to win the next election. And we have made ourselves incredibly clear that we reject a status quo that depends on fossil fuels and sacrifice zones. We do not want new coal, oil, or gas projects. So the next steps, there are many call to actions that will happen after I speak today, but in general, you all have so much power, so much more than you think. I feel small a lot of the time. But just being on a call with 332 people makes me so hopeful, and I'm very happy that you all are here. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Elise, and thank you for sharing how young folks already are using their or our collective voices and power to build a fossil-free world. So thank you so much. We're super excited to build an intergenerational movement for climate justice. Our next speaker is Jean Su. Jean is the Energy Justice Director and Senior Attorney at the Center for Biological Diversity. Jean wages strategic litigation and federal policy campaigns dedicated to fighting the climate emergency by advancing a just, renewable, and anti-racist energy future. And she's also the co-author of the Climate President's Emergency Powers. She'll talk about this unique political moment that we're in and how the Biden administration is feeling the pressure to act. Thank you, Jean.
Great. Thank you, Eloise, and everybody. For those who are here, I wish we could see everybody all at once. You all are so amazing. 333 people on this call right now, and hundreds more who signed up. So absolutely incredible organizing, and so excited everyone is here. I think somebody actually put it in the chat, which sums it all up. They said, "What the F is going on?" Morgan knows this, and so does Crystal. I just say it. So what the fuck is going on? I think that is the big question that everybody is asking right now. We just had the horrific carbon bomb of the Willow project, and then less than a month later, we have an incredible Alaska LNG project that is even more climate polluting than Willow. And then tomorrow, unfortunately, we think that FERC will actually approve 3 more fossil fuel projects. So the Biden administration is at a point right now where it campaigned on solving climate and actually giving a shit about people and communities and environmental justice and climate justice. And here they are literally or figuratively giving away fossil fuel permits like it's Halloween and it's candy, just free candy everywhere. And what they're saying is that they're greenwashing a lot of this shit with, oh, we have the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, everyone's going to get a heat pump and an induction stove. That is not in reality what is happening with the Inflation Reduction Act. And on top of that, everybody is crystal clear scientifically across the world that we need to stop fossil fuels now. We need to rapidly phase out existing fossil fuels. We need to stop all new approvals. So everything that Biden just approved is absolutely anti-climate and therefore climate denialism in and of itself. And at the same time, we need to rapidly ramp up our renewable energy. So that is exactly where we are at this moment. It's like the Biden administration has just given up on climate because they are handing out fossil fuel permits like candy. So what's the good news right now in all of this? The good news is that all of you are here, which is amazing. As Elise just said, everybody here has incredible power together. And Victoria, I hear you, everybody is extremely sad. But what we also know is that legally, President Biden himself has unparalleled authorities to stop this and end the fossil fuel era now. He actually has the ability to revoke Willow. He has the ability to stop that LNG export terminal, and he has the ability to stop all new approvals and manage the phase out of existing ones. This is not rocket science. This literally is a rubber stamp, and you have the discretion to rubber stamp it or not. You have the decision to take back that decision or not. He is choosing not to right now, but he legally can. So where we are is that we know he can do it. We know that he has to do it because of climate justice and because of climate science. So how do we get him to do it? And that's why everybody is here tonight. We have the ability to make this an electoral issue. As you know, Elise was just talking about, we have the ability for intergenerational pressure, and it's not just our incredible young people, it's our incredible old people in rocking chairs and everybody in between to come out and say, this is our climate moment. You need to be the climate president. We have until 2030 to turn this ship around, and you have the ability to do it. So we have elections. And what we also have is public pressure right now, litigation, lawsuits, everything we can to say this is fucking unacceptable for all of us. And I want to invite you to a couple of incredible mobilization efforts coming out that others will be talking about in a moment. In June, we will be mobilizing like heck across the country to come out locally and nationally. And that starts the kickoff to September, where the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, we have been working with his staff to make sure that the ticket to entry into his climate summit is to stop all new fossil fuel development. You have a chief world leader saying we need to save this planet, and the way to do it is to stop fossil fuels. So we're working with him, and he is dependent on us to mobilize in the United States and get people out on the streets in New York saying, hell no, we absolutely fucking need to stop fossil fuels and get our just renewable energy system on now. That's what we need to tell Biden, that we're not joking around about his election. It's not him or Trump, it's him or somebody else. And we have to get somebody else, or it's the highway. So that's where we are right now. We have in September global communities who are with us, who are standing with us, who are going to be coming to New York and marching with us. Because even if we start turning over our renewable system and we start getting more renewables and more heat pumps and induction stoves here, we are pumping out our oil and gas, harming communities all the way from the Permian Basin to Texas. And we are poisoning so many communities abroad who have no voice here. So I know we feel unempowered right now, but it's so important to know we are in the most privileged position on earth to actually change the decisions of one person who has a huge influence on our climate future. Those of us who can vote, we have that incredible privilege in the United States. So we have to use it because everybody else in the world is counting on us to do it. So that's all I wanted to say. You guys are all amazing. Thank you so much for being here, and we're going to win this. We are going to win this. We have no choice. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jean, for sharing both maybe what we were all thinking, and then secondly, what we all needed to hear. So that got us fired up. And we're actually going to move into the second section of the call tonight. And so we've got 3 amazing speakers that are going to talk about other fossil fuel resistance fights that are happening across Turtle Island right now. That'll be Morgan Brings Plenty, Dr. Crystal Cavalier-Keck, and Dawn Goodwin. And first, we're going to hear from Morgan Brings Plenty about the Dakota Access Pipeline and the legacy of Indigenous-led resistance against pipelines. Morgan is a member of the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe and the Digital Organizing Fellow for the Indigenous Environmental Network. Morgan is a longtime pipeline fighter and water protector. They have taken stands against the Keystone XL pipeline and Dakota Access Pipeline as Big Oil tried to cross their lands. Thank you so much, Morgan.
Owiskawi imachiapi, na Morgan Brings Plenty American imachiapi. Wambli paha LTP, chantena pewashte choose happy. Hello, my name is Morgan Brings Plenty. My Lakota name is Owiskawi, which means white earring woman. And I am calling here from my homeland in Eagle Butte, South Dakota, also known as the Oceti-Shankomi territory. I'm here today to talk about Dakota Access Pipeline, and it's been 7 years since the camps have started. So I'm celebrating the 7th year, as well as the legacy that my mom has left behind. And we are here to continue on her legacy and to stop the fossil fuel industries. Dakota Access is still illegally running on our territory. And the only thing that has changed is that the EIS has been approved. And we are doing everything we can with our allies and with all Great Seven Nations and to stop this pipeline. So it's in the hands of our lawyers and the tribal entities and the grassroots, as well as there are many other fights that has been going on, such as the CO2 pipelines that is running through, like the Summit Midwest pipelines, the Navigator pipeline, as well as the Black Hills mining, and 3 permits have been passed in the Black Hills. And I want everybody to just be aware that Dakota Access is still happening unto this day. And I want everybody to continue on to stop the fight and to help the other tribes and other fights that are happening along the way, because this needs to stop. Biden needs to stop the fossil fuel industries. It needs to sign off, because it just only takes a stroke of a pen to stop, like any of these proposed projects. And as my mother once said, that you have the power. We all have the power. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Morgan. That was so powerful, and always so honored to be reminded of your mother and the amazing work that Joy did. Now moving on to our next speaker, we're going to hear from Dr. Crystal Cavalier-Keck. who's going to share about the Mountain Valley Pipeline. Crystal is a citizen of the Occaneechi Band of the Saponi Nation, and she has dedicated the past 5+ years to defending her homelands against the Mountain Valley Pipeline or the Southgate Extension. She's leading a campaign to bring rights of nature laws to NC to protect the waterways and communities in the path of the pipeline. And Crystal is the co-founder of 7 Directions of Service with her husband. Thank you so much for being here, Crystal.
Meku mention Kyohei, Nahon PB Mima Crystal, Mima Okanichi Saponi, Watiwa. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here and speak. And I just want to give a shout out to Power and Artivism and Appalachian Voices and all the fighters here on the East Coast. They've been fighting this pipeline for almost 10 years. We've been fighting the Southgate for almost 5. And, you know, it's all about unity, working together, relational building, standing up for the communities, especially the Black, Indigenous, and low economic white communities, because they are just treating us like sacrifices. And, you know, we're here to tell them that we're not taking this anymore. We had a win in West Virginia, I believe maybe a week or 2 ago. It was huge, like, I mean, just huge. I was not expecting it to come from West Virginia, but it was huge. It was a stop in the pipeline process. But, you know, here comes Joe Manchin sneaking around the corner like those dastardly devils and trying to push this permitting reform. And I mean, I'm just so sick of it. I'm just to the point that I'm just like, please retire already. Like, I mean, he's just a nefarious actor in all of his counterparts. And, you know, we're just really tired of this, but we really have to stand fast and stay true to ourselves. And we really have to tell Biden that he can really stop this, right? Like, we campaigned for him in North Carolina. I was a deputy tribal engagement specialist for the Biden campaign, and he campaigned on climate change. And he has broken every promise that he put out there that he was going to fight climate change. And what is he doing? He just keeps pushing pipelines through. I mean, we really need to just shut it down. We need to go to DC and we need to rally and be like, okay, Biden, like, you're not going to get reelected by us because you're not keeping true to your word. And it's really all about uniting all of these fights together, coming together like we did September 8th, mobilizing on a dime, letting these investors know that we are tired and we're going to stand together and you're not going to divide us, because we see a lot of division right now in Indigenous communities from a lot of tribes who are loving oil and gas pipelines. And so we really have to work with our relatives and let them understand that we need a just transition, and that lithium mines and copper mines are not the answer. That is still very extractive industries. And so I just really appreciate you guys letting me come on here and talk about this. And to our West Virginia, Virginia, and North Carolina people, we're going to win this fight against the MVP. No MVP, stop MVP. Alewa.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Crystal. Next, we're going to hear from Don Goodwin, who will speak about line 3 and 5. Don Goodwin, or Gagiet Yashik, of White Earth, 1855 Treaty Territory, is a co-founder of Resilient Indigenous Sisters Engaging with Our Allies, or the RISE Coalition, as well as a 1855 Treaty Authority alternate board member and a member of the Indigenous Environmental Network and Sierra Club North Star chapter. She is also a founding member of the Indigenous Women's Treaty Alliance and Wadukawad Amikwag, those who help Beaver. Go ahead, Don.
Usuga the Gaya Shik Indigenous Cause. Tawaba began Kagan Doom Jaba, playing gun in the game. I'm Don Goodwin. I'm here in White Earth. And I'm out in the sugar bush here. I'm out in the car here with my little curtain. Trying to make better, just so no distractions here. So yeah, I'm out here in White Earth. My native name means everlasting wind. And sugar bush is maple syrup season. So So we're out here making maple syrup. Yeah, so I'm part of Rise Coalition, a co-founder, um, and it's Resilient Indigenous Sisters Engaging. At one time, we had added about engaging with our allies, just so y'all know that. But yeah, I really forged forward in my work in protection of water and the importance of our climate and standing up. That was what really led my work in the last 10 years of moving forward. So right now, we were out on the front lines here in 2021, and line 3 was built, and then it became line 93. So we always slash line 3/93, and a lot of crazy things happened then. We had 26 verified blackouts. However, there's very many more. 3 aquifer breaches that were reported. However, there's suspicion of other areas. So I'm part of a team called the Dukawad Amikwag. So it's like post-construction. So we have people on the ground and in the air. So we have drone pilots, we have scientists, we have people that are out in the field, we have media people. We do have a website that's going to be unveiled soon. And also we have a YouTube channel. So you can follow Mudukawad work, Mudukawad Amikwag, those who help either on YouTube. So what we found is a big mess out here. So we've been meeting with the MPCA and the DNR as a group to share information. We're able to commission a group of us. We're able to pitch in and commission a drone flyover, thermal flyover in November 21. So we have all this information, and now we're in talks with DNR and MPCA in meetings and information sharing. So right now, currently, the aquifer breach in LaSalle Valley in Clearwater County is still active. They're built a timber bridge in there, and they are dewatering. So it's became a very unsafe area. So this is within our 1855 lands, right near the Mississippi headwaters. That is also still active. There's also a place called Walkerbrook in Clearwater County on a new part of corridor of line 39/93 that they had to do an aggregate blanket, it's called, because it was unstable and it was a hill. So there's a lot of erosion problems. That's the worry right now. We are in talks with the water specialists. So we're trying to just work all together to do the best we can and not create any more damage that there is. So we got that going on. Be sure to check out our work. We got a lot of different videos that have been put out to better understand. There's also an aquifer breach in Clearbrook near Calcareous Bend, which is a rare part of land. So that was filled with grout, like cement, if you don't know. And so these areas have been filled with grout and whatnot, and also in Fond du Lac. So we're just bringing our work forward and trying to let people know what's going on and bringing our work forward into Wisconsin and Michigan, because then it turns into line 5. So we are just getting our feet wet, building relationships, which is very important. And I'm glad we talked a little bit about those building relationships. So that's very important. I have come to know how important that is. And like everyone has said, I just want to uplift our young people that are taking on this fight. And I want to lift up my sister Morgan in this moment. And we're behind you. And I just look forward to continue working together. And just want to make sure that y'all are updated on what's going on here. So we'll be continuing to do work throughout the year. And I want to invite you all to come to the Headwaters event on June 2nd through the 4th, where it's an interfaith prayer circle, and that's at the Headwaters Park, Itasca Park in northern Minnesota. That's June 2nd through the 4th. We will also have a canoe journey, right of Mississippi. Is doing a canoe journey June 20th. And we'll follow that with more events and action. And July 15th, we will be doing Spirit of Water. And in combined with that, we'll also be doing a Relay for the Water, part 2. So you're all invited to be part of that. Follow us on Rise Coalition, Indigenous Environmental Network, and me, Don Goodwin. So thank you very much. And Beth has put some links for you up. And thank you very much. Thanks for listening.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dawn, for both your words and the amazing work that you're doing. We appreciate you so much. Awesome. Okay, so to help us transition into our call to action portion of this call, we actually have an audio clip from John Beard, who couldn't be here tonight on the call, but we've got an awesome audio clip from him. And he is the founder, president, and executive director of the Port Arthur Community Action Network. And he'll be inspiring us to take bold action against fossil fuels, and use our collective power to call out Biden and the fossil fuel projects that he's been greenlighting.
Hello to all of you. This is John Beard from Port Arthur, Texas, with the Port Arthur Community Action Network, an environmental, social justice, and community development organization located here in the belly of the beast in Southeast Texas. We are home to the largest refinery in the country. We are home to 2 and possibly a 3rd LNG trying to come in the Port Arthur area. But we have also suffered over the last 15 years from 3 major hurricanes and storms, one of which was Hurricane Harvey, which dumped over 60 inches of rain in the Port Arthur area. Climate change is real here in Port Arthur, and it's happening now. It's not in some far distant future time and place. And the main cause of that climate change is our use of fossil fuels. And I'd like to call on the president and call on the Congress, and I'd like to call on each and every one of you to support us getting out of fossil fuels and into clean, green, renewable energy. President Biden can, with a stroke of his pen, issue an executive order to accelerate the pace of this transition, because we don't have any time to waste or to spare. The IPCC has already said that we need to do this not later, not 10 or 15 years later. We need to do this now. We're not only seeing the effects of climate change here in the Gulf South, but we're also seeing it on the West Coast with forest fires and on superstorms on the East Coast. And right here in Port Arthur, it's no better place than to see the actual effect of it. But it's also affecting lives and health of people with high rates of cancer, heart, lung, kidney disease, respiratory illnesses. So it's imperative, it's a matter of life and death that the president call for and declare a climate emergency and transition us away from fossil fuels and into clean, green, renewable energy now. Come on, Joe, pick up your pen, do the right thing. Do right by all of us here. Do right by the world. Stop the build out of petrochem facilities, of LNG facilities, of refineries, of plastics manufacturing, and put us in a position to be the true leaders that you say we and you are. Use the power of your pen and initiate a transition to clean, green, renewable energy now.
Amazing. I hope that got you a little bit fired up just hearing his voice. I know I'm feeling pretty inspired. Awesome. Well, that clip wraps up our second section about other fossil fuel fights taking place across the country. And now we're going to move on to some action. But first, I want to give a shout out to an awesome art action that's taking place across the country right now, which is the People's Earth Week. The People's Earth Week, organized by Stop the Money Pipeline and the People versus Fossil Fuels Coalition, is an opportunity to use art to demand climate justice and urge Wall Street and Biden and the Biden administration to end fossil fuel expansion. So you might see some beautiful posters around your town. keep an eye out. And there are also other awesome Earth Day actions taking place across the country. Many folks have been dropping events in the chat. Feel free to keep plugging those. We want to make sure that people are taking real action for climate justice in this year's Earth Day. Awesome. So now we're going to hear from Tanisha Harris about how media, and particularly op-eds and LTEs, can help us win the battle against the fossil fuel industry. Tanisha is ACE's Associate Director of Communications and Partnerships. She helps ACE garner and earn media opportunities, communicate with partners, and support coalition building efforts. She also launched the A Place at the Table campaign through the Student Environmental Alliance to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus for environmental discourse. Thanks so much for being here, Tanisha.
Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Tanisha Harris. I'm a youth climate and environmental justice activist first, and one of my favorite forms of activism is written. I really love taking a pen and writing out my thoughts and creating an argumentative, persuasive narrative on why my experience and the lived experience of thousands, if not millions of others across not only our nation, but the globe, have experienced the climate emergency. And so I'm here to say one call to action is through letters to the editors or op-eds. I have written quite a few myself, especially as ACE's Associate Director of Communications and Partnerships. And we're at a time where there is a counter narrative. There is an entire climate change counter movement that's happening right now. And they're using the media. It's how we connect to the public, is how we shift the narrative. And it's a really powerful tool that I think a lot of people on here don't realize that they can use. And so there is a guide that was just posted in the chat. It's a letter to the editor guide, where people want to hear from the average citizen about their impact, about their experience with the climate emergency, with these LNG projects being approved, with Willow and the Alaska LNG. And so your voice is a very powerful tool. That's something that I learned as a youth climate activist, and it's something that will continue to carry through me as I age out of the movement and step into a new form of activism. And so one of the ways that ACE, we use earned media to, one, educate people, two, change the narrative, and three, build up a counter narrative. And so we need to shift the narrative away from approving these big oil and gas projects to how they're impacting the communities where they're being built, to the broader impact on the climate emergency, to there are solutions out there. There are clean, renewable, just solutions out there that can solve our crises, that can solve our problems in a way that does not continue to harm communities that are being harmed right now. And so I like for everyone to consider drafting an LT or an op-ed. You're likely to get picked up as a local resident. And if you do get picked up or published, feel free to forward them my way so we can amplify that and we can continue spreading the word of, like, there are solutions out there that help solve the climate emergency, that do not continue environmental racism. And President Biden is one of the few people in power that has the ability to solve a lot of our problems. We just need to put the pressure on him. So thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing some powerful tools that we can use ourselves and within our communities to really push that narrative, because forming narratives around climate justice is so, so important. Awesome. Next, we're going to actually watch a quick video from 350.org that's going to launch our big call to action that our last speaker will give even more details about, but we're gonna watch this awesome video first.
Extractive industries do not have our community's best interests at heart.
No more drilling on federal lands, period.
The approval of Willow represents an unsustainable way of thinking. It is time to stop putting polluters over people.
The tribal government, native city of Nuiqsut, and the native village of Nuiqsut have made official statements with major concerns and reservations about this project and its negative impacts on the community as a whole.
Studies about communities in proximity to oil drilling sites around the nation regularly show detrimental health impacts.
We are human beings. It is time out for putting policy before people. We can barely afford to live in the communities where we are fighting for. Yet industry is making billions of dollars off of our backs, off of our children's health. How much more is it gonna take? Will it be the funeral of my 10-year-old who has asthma? What more is it gonna take if the Ohio train derailment wasn't enough? If Freeport LNG explosion wasn't enough? What more is it going to take, and how much more are we going to allow? If we don't fight, no one else will.
Awesome. Well, that video was just the kickoff to an awesome, exciting announcement about a week of action happening in June. And we're going to hear about this week of action from Beta Coronel, who is a senior national climate justice organizer at the Center for Popular Democracy, supporting over 30 grassroots organizing affiliate organizations and New York Communities for Change to run campaigns and base building programs on climate justice. Thanks so much, Beta.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with all of you, all those amazing speakers tonight. And also to be with my 350 family. I spent a ton of time at 350, so it feels like I'm coming back home in a lot of ways. So really, really happy to be here tonight. Yeah, I'm now the senior climate justice organizer at Center for Popular Democracy. Center for Popular Democracy is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, network of grassroots organizations across the country. Our affiliates include all of them. Make the Road. So if you've ever heard of Make the Road New York, Make the Road Nevada, Make the Road Pennsylvania, New York Communities for Change in New York, CASA in Maryland, Georgia, New Georgia Project, Texas Organizing Project, and ACE in California, Cocoon in Oregon. I can keep going. We have so many. Just absolutely incredible grassroots organizing organizations, 70% of which are BIPOC led by women of color, 70% led by women. And we are also, our organizations have also been part of the climate justice fight for quite some time. So I'm really, really excited to be throwing down on this week of action. So that's what I'm here to tell you about. Like we just heard all along this call, we know that Biden is the one person who can really determine the future that we live into. And that's not even an exaggeration. It's a moment where not only are we all here in the United States and Turtle Island looking to him to do what it takes, to do whatever it takes to have us live into a livable future, but also he's facing pressure from the international community. Literally everyone around the world is asking him to take this on. And if the United States can move off of fossil fuels, our country is responsible for the largest amount of emissions. Like we heard stories from all of our colleagues and our friends on the call tonight, those projects continue to be pushed and approved. We don't have the budget, a carbon budget, to even do those projects. And the science is pretty clear. He's the one person that can make the decision, and he's built his reputation on being a climate champion. And like we heard, he has a long way to go. So this June, June 8th through 11th, we are going to have our first distributed day of action. And this is the first time that we'll be gathering in our communities across the country to take action as we build through the rest of the year to this big mobilization movement in September. And so this is the first time that we'll do it this year, but we're going to be building a steady drumbeat throughout the rest of the year. Again, this is a key opportunity to just begin to put pressure on Biden to take bold action on climate, to demand that he stop sacrificing frontline Black, Indigenous, and people of the global majority to the greed of big oil and gas. And a key piece of all of this is all of you deciding to take your first step in running bold, creative, and disruptive actions to lift up both local fights against oil and gas development, but to continue to start us on this journey of building this steady drumbeat. So first, we're going to have an opportunity for you to sign up on this action map where you can be the host of your very own action in your community. And I believe that in the chat, we're dropping both links to the action map and to the interest form. So let's say you've never done an action before, right? No worries, because some of the resources that will become available over the next few weeks will include toolkits to help walk you through how do you do an action of this sort if you've never done it before. And there are also going to be resources like coaching available. So your very own coach will give you a call and walk you through, like, step by step, how do you put on a powerful action in your community, from recruitment to visuals to messaging to even using some of the communication tools that we just heard from our friend in terms of placing op-eds and other ways to engage the press and social media. So we're really, really excited. I know that over the next few weeks, I'm going to be working really closely with CPD affiliates across the country to make sure that we're also throwing down and putting events on this map. But we really want you to take that action alongside us so that we can really have a strong start to what will be a really powerful arc of actions throughout the year, leading up to this really, really big and important moment in September. Again, here's the actions guide and toolkit. So if you go to this URL, you'll be able to find a guide that will start to walk you through it and get you oriented to, like, what does it look like to put on this action. And if you're interested in getting more training, there's 2 upcoming virtual action trainings on May 11th and May 25th. So definitely sign up for those if you think that they will be supportive to you. And I think that that's it. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm really, really excited to see how all of you on this call take the first step towards together putting the pressure that Biden needs, putting the pressure on Biden so that we can secure a livable future together.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Beta. And as a reminder, big national call or opportunity for action, June 8th through 11th. We're so excited. I know in so-called Portland, we are already planning a massive kayak action. We've got unsafely stored fossil fuels sitting on the Willamette River that provide almost 100% of the fossil fuels to the rest of the state. And it is just sitting there being stored unsafely. So we'll be hitting the river in our kayaks. And so we're really excited to see what other groups do, or to have folks on the West Coast join us. Well, thank you so much. That is all of our speakers. As was mentioned in the chat, there will be a follow-up email with all of the resources shared. Eventually, y'all will get that awesome video from 350.org. And again, a million thank yous to everyone who could be here tonight. We are so, so excited to see what action y'all take with us this summer. Thank you. Yeah, the link to that video will be shared in a follow-up email. Thank you.